600 Shadows sounds so good. It's ridiculous. I can't even believe it. What's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. My name's Micah, and today I figured I'd show you our new bobber project. So without further ado, let's rip into it. So what we have here is gonna be a Honda Shadow VLX. So it's roughly their 600cc size Shadow cruiser. It's got a 4-speed transmission, it's liquid cooled, chain drive. It uses a monoshock rear suspension system, so it looks really clean when you bob these out. I've done a couple of these now. I really like them as far as a bobber platform. So you can typically pick them up really cheap with low miles. You don't have to put a ton of money into them, and you can make them just the most fun. Little bar runner, little cafe racer. There's a lot of different directions you can go with these, with them having that monoshock rear suspension. You know, the tail just looks so clean on them. So I really like them for that. But yeah, let me just kind of go through the parts that I've put on so far, kind of where we're at and what I plan to do. So I guess first off, I'll just kind of give you a walk around the bike. So I have the factory headlight still on it. We did pull off the front turn signals that were just mounted up on the forks there. Factory front wheel is going to be a 19-inch. The rear is going to be a 15-inch. These do have a 170 millimeter wide rear tire, so I really like them for that. It kind of gives this little bike kind of a fat rear end. This one did come with the Cobra pipes on it, those Cobra long shots I believe they're called. So that's about a $600 exhaust system that we kind of hit the jackpot with, so that was very cool. This is the deluxe edition, so they have a couple different versions of this bike. One of them is just going to have a very stainless brushed finish as far as like on the airbox, the cylinder heads, the crankcase on them. Or you can get the deluxe, and that will be just kind of a chrome finish. So I always like the deluxe ones of these. Makes this little cruiser look very clean. So, and you can see that we chopped the rear frame. I don't have any block off plates on it. I haven't filled the frame yet. And I don't know if I'm going to do block off plates or if I'm just going to fill the frame. So we'll decide what we want to do there in the next couple days. And then as far as taillights on it, you know, I just have these little strip taillights. Gosh, I love these. So I will put one on each side of the swing arm there, as you can see. And then when this bike is on, well, I'll just turn the key on so I can show you the brake lights there. So I love the look of those two strips, you know, and then as you hit the brake light here, or the brake, those just power on. I mean, they're really bright. They have a great look to them. And it's just so easy. Gosh, I use those things for all my different bobber builds. They're all the ones that it will work on. So you can usually get those a 2-pack for about $9. Sometimes you'll see a 4-pack for $9, but you have to be sensitive to how long the harnesses are on them. That your harness is long enough to get back into your factory harness so you can wire them in, and these ones had about a 20-inch harness, so that worked perfectly. As you can see, I just zip tie those on. So here's the deal about zip ties. There's nothing wrong with using zip ties if you use an industrial grade heavy duty zip tie. So every time I use a zip tie on a bobber build, it's like a 50-pound commercial grade zip tie. I mean, they're weatherproof, they're strong as hell. I have no doubts that that is gonna hold everything I need to for as long as I own the bike, or as long as need be. So I don't mind the zip ties for certain things. So, and then we just did one of these solo bobber seats here. So this kit came with the plate, comes with the seat, comes with the little bracket that goes under here, and then comes with the springs, of course. So these universal ones, they seem to fit pretty well. You know, I just bolt it down with the factory bolt. For the gas tank, I kind of just flare these wings out a little bit since I don't use them. Some bikes that have a bolt that runs through to hold the gas tank down, you can just use these factory wings, but you know, I could have cut those off, but I figured I'd just flare them out for now, and then I'll see what I think of them, see if I have a better idea. but those plates seem to cover about everything that they need to there, and they kind of follow the line of the frame there. What I probably will do is crease this plate right in the middle, maybe about right here, because you can see there's just a slight gap under the seat there. So if I kind of crease this plate right here, so I think it will lay on that frame very nicely. That's just kind of a finishing touch you can do to those solo seats to really make it look like it was meant to be for this bike. As far as the handlebars go, so we just did a broomstick bar. So there is absolutely no bend or crease in any part of this bar. It's perfectly straight. I've done these bars on plenty of bobber builds before, and what I like about them is the view just from the rear. That the bike just kind of leads up to that perfect T. It just looks mean as hell. And as far as comfort, you know, this seat is close enough to the bars that it's not uncomfortable to grab them. Your wrists are kind of spaced out a little bit more. So on certain bikes, you know, your clutch pull and brake pull can kind of wear on your wrist a little bit. It is not uncomfortable on this platform, these VLXs. I really like the broomstick bar on those. The one thing that I will say about the broomstick bar is that I totally had to reroute all of my cables here. So like the clutch cable, the front brake cable there, my throttle cables. Now I don't mind with where I have them at now. They're not going over the headlight or anything. And these throttle cables are so touchy on these VLXs. They just have to be at the right angle for your throttle to work and snap back perfectly. Well, here, I'll do it this way with my hip. So I'll just put my hip against these throttle cables, just move them oh so slightly, and now I'll rev the throttle. Our throttle sticks open. And if I let my hip off, then the throttle closes and it's totally fine. So just to get around that problem, I kind of had to have these throttle cables loop out like this. It doesn't look bad, it's not too distasteful, so I'm gonna leave them there for now. And then for the clutch to have a nice easy pull, I kind of had to route it over the speedometer like this and then go back into the neck of the bike. I might change my routing of some things down the road. I'll see how I like it, I'll look at it a little bit more. But we did leave the front fender on. I'm thinking about pulling the front fender off. As of now, it's on. I like the look of having that front fender on there at certain angles. It makes the bike look pretty polished and clean. Without the front fender, you know, it has a little bit more of a bare bones look to it. But so as far as pricing on everything, you know, we got this bike for $1,200. It was running perfectly, but it did have a fuel leak. So over on the left side of this bike, you have right here what's called a petcock valve. So that petcock valve, it's a factory part. It's known to be faulty. It is a recalled part. I don't think this one was ever recalled. So what that does is basically if your bike ever tips over or stops running, it has a line that goes to the cylinder, and that takes pressure from the cylinder and pushes fuel through that to the carburetor. So in essence, what that does is only push fuel to your motor when the bike is running. It's been a faulty part. They've been known to leak when the bike is not running, and we experienced that problem on this one here. So that was kind of part of the reason that we got this bike for $1,200, because it did have that problem on it. I pulled that petcock valve apart and I thought that I had kind of fixed it. I didn't see any rips or holes, anything in that little rubber bladder that's inside there. And I put it back together, everything was fine. Well, a couple days later, I started to get a drip or two out of it. So you can buy a rebuild kit for those for $32, or just to get a whole new petcock valve, it's $40. I just spent the $40 and got the whole new petcock valve. So that's on the way. It should be here in a few days, and then we'll put that on, and then we'll put our little chrome cover back on there as well. But so yeah, $1,200 is what we paid for the bike. Between our bars, Oh, and then the grips that I did on them are just kind of a universal 1-inch spiked grip. It does come with a throttle tube in the throttle side, so that goes perfectly up to your factory cables. Those work really good. Those are about $20, but between the grips and then the handlebars, our solo seat, our lights, those 4 parts is really all that I've put on this build. And those totaled $155. So we had our $1,200 for the bike. We spent $155 on it. So that kind of brings us up to about the $1,350 mark. And then these bikes book in good condition with average mileage for $3,000 exactly. So we'll probably list this one for sale for $2,500. That should be a fair deal for kind of a cool, unique, perfect running little Honda Shadow VLX. So, and then we do have the factory seat as well. So it's always a perk when you get these Shadows, these cruisers that you want to bob out, and they have a perfectly good factory seat. So ours here, the passenger seat and the driver's seat, they're connected by a little bracket on here. So you can pull them apart and sell them separately if you want to. But I see the package deal of the driver and passenger seat for these sell for $200 all day long on eBay. So that ours is perfect condition. We're gonna put that on eBay. We can easily expect $200. We'll have that sold in probably a week or so. They seem to be going pretty fast, and it's kind of in the middle of summertime. It's late June, so we'll have no problem selling that for 200 bucks. So if we were into the bike for $1,350, we're gonna sell our factory seat here for $200. That brings us down to $1,150. So if we can sell this bobber here for $2,500, then that gives us a profit of $1,350. I mean, that's why I like doing these little bobber builds. You get to kind of just transform some generic cruiser. You get to make it into this super fun little bar runner, cafe runner, whatever you want to call it, and you get to make some money on it as well. So, you know, I really only aim to do like one of these a month. I figured if I can cover rent by just having a bobber project, one a month, that's kind of cool. You know, I get to have a different bike every month, ride it, sell it, give somebody else something really fun to rip around on. So I am secretly thinking about keeping this bike and doing something absolutely nuts to it. So it's kind of unique with these VLXs. So since they have the 170 rear tire, they have plenty of clearance in this swing arm here. You know, you have about an inch on that side. If you remove the chain guard, you have about an inch on that side. You have plenty of space in front of it here, at least an inch and a quarter or so. It's 2 full fingers there. And then with the front tire being a 19-inch front tire, what you can do to these is throw dirt tires on them. Enduro tire on the front. And then for the rear, I think from my research and tire size calculations, I think that I can fit a 26 by 8 by 15 ATV tire on the rear. And I just think that that would look like the most badass thing the world has ever seen. To have a Honda Shadow Cruiser with a freaking ATV tire on the rear, massive as hell, with just huge treads. You know, the lugs, the tread lugs on those ATV tires are like 1.25 inches deep. I mean, the thing is aggressive as hell. And then if I just have a full-fledged MX tire on the front, if I can't get it to clear with the fender, we just pull the fender off. But we'd essentially have like this V-twin 600cc dirt bobber. I mean, I threw MX tires on a bobber once before, but they were skinny tires front and rear. I didn't have an ATV tire on the rear. And so I had a TW200 that I put an ATV tire on the rear, and the thing looked so sick. So it's kind of in the back of my mind if I want to do that to this Shadow. So it weighs about 450 pounds dry, it makes about 40 horsepower and about 40 foot-pounds of torque. You know, you don't have off-road suspension and you don't have a ton of ground clearance. But as far as just like a flat track trail runner, I think it could be pretty cool. So let me know in the comments, guys, if that's something you want to see. If you want to see us put full-fledged dirt tires on our Honda Shadow, I'll do it for you. I will. But otherwise, let me know if you guys have any other questions. You know, we've got plenty of other bikes out here that we're working on, some more project bikes, some of the ones that we just ride every day. Actually, the girlfriend has the old Honda 919 right now, so don't worry about that. We still got it, it's whited out, it's faster than ever. And then I still gotta do a review on our supercharged Range Rover here that we bought. Man, I love that car. It is just so unique, it's so powerful. You know, we threw mud tires on it, we rebuilt a ton of things. It's my daily driver for a car. And the thing is just the most fun you can possibly have. So stick around for that as well. But otherwise, yeah, shoot me any questions you might have on these Honda VLXs, or if you have another bike that you're looking to bob, you're curious about handlebars, seats, anything like that. Like I said, I've done about a dozen of them, so I can probably help you out a little bit with whatever you're curious about, or if you have some questions. So otherwise, like the video if this helped you out, subscribe if you want to see more, and until next time, have a great night, guys.